Hello, how do I grow microgreen in containers outside? So let's work on that setup. So we pretty much took a sandbox that I like to pretty much continue to expand my microgreen bed, and I took the bottom off. My kids are old now. The youngest one is 10. So for some years now they stopped playing in the sandbox. So I use the sand that was on it. I dump it on the ground, turn that area into, since that there was no grass underneath it, I turned that area into a bed, and I moved the sandbox out of there to here, and it's right on the grass. I put some wood chips there last year, but grass and creeping Charlie are growing there. So I put some cardboard box down, and we cut the bottom off of that container. So pretty much I'm really not trying to grow in the container, but using the container as a frame. So by the time that box breaks down, there won't be much weight underneath it. And I put worm as I was digging from the yard to fill it up. I introduced worm to the container. So having the bottom um, open, they can come in and out as well. But I did the same thing last year for that box, but I just poke a hole and I put worm in it, and I've covered it with wood chips. And but I was thinking about planting herbs in it. So later, as I was not sure if the worm would survive, but this, like when I was doing this and I'm empty the container, there was worm in it, so they survived the winter, which was great. But I just feel like I prefer, instead of just poking a hole at the bottom, I prefer to cut the bottom off and use it for microgreen, and let the connection between the dirt underneath the bed and the bed interact by the time that box breaks down. So, and you can grow in a container. You can buy padding soil to do so, but here I just want to use dirt from our own yard. That would be, one way to keep expenses low. And here I'm just repurposing here, using what I already have. And of course, certain things were purchased that I use, but they were purchased um, some years ago, and I just used them, but I didn't purchase them for this bed. So, and I purchased some topsoil last year to fill a bed that I created for microgreen last year. Microgreen grew in it just fine, but other things that I tried to grow to full maturity in didn't work out because the soil was just not suitable for it. And I noticed that later when I put some of my dirt or around some of those plants, they start growing better. But it was toward the end of the season last year. So you see there are some worm in here, and I'm just putting it in there as well. They will be fine. And I'm feeling this way more than I feel it last fall when I set the bed, but didn't use it this spring, and I'm redoing it again because that one I top it up with wood chips, but this one I'm not going to. For microgreen is good. I found that it's good if you have the soil you are using, you don't have mulch on top of it. It can help. It's just for like to harvest your microgreen, it might be easier so that you won't have some wood chips in the harvest to take out later. So now that I don't know how many trips, maybe 5 trips or so, to be able to get it to fill it up like that. And I stood up in it earlier to see how wide it is, and I think it's 2 feet long, about a foot and a half wide, or we can just say maybe 2 by 2. But yeah, we are just going to mix it up, level it, and that is one way. You can go microgreen in a container, and those containers, there are containers that are broken, and I wanted to grow herbs in them. Last year I grew um, basil in one of them, and it grew well. And I found that those things, when you give them space, let them by themselves, they grow better. That was just my opinion. I'm not very good at growing onions, vegetables. I grow perennial vegetables. Microgreen I got into last year, and I'm continuing this year because it's a quick way for me to get fresh vegetables for eating when I'm struggling to grow annual vegetables to full maturity. I grow annual in the garden. I just don't spend time on them. When they grow, they grow. When they don't, they don't. And some years they grow just fine, some years they don't. But since last year, I'm trying to learn to grow them, how to care for them, and I'm not somebody that care for plants much. I like to let them do their own things, and I can just observe what they are doing instead of intervene. I like to let them do their own thing and just observe them. And my perennial vegetables tend to do well in that environment, but onions, not all of them do well under low maintenance. They lack care, at least some of them do. And my goal is to find the one that don't like too much care that I can still grow. Knowing that deer, bunny, and groundhog can get in my garden, fence or not. And now I'm been taking some fence out. My trees are all tall now, and I have chicken wire around them. But as for perennial vegetables in the garden, they are not bothered much, but they are producing less and less. So I'm spending more time now that I have those perennials in the garden. I'm coming back to onions to learn to grow them. So pretty much maybe focusing on one things at a time. You might say that, but I'm more of somebody that does multiple things at the same time. So here, you see, we got that bed ready. We are going to plant peas in it. So, and is Oregon giant snow peas, 5 pound. I purchased it around $20, and we are just going to wet it. And I'm trying to get it to a number easy to maybe remember. And have enough that I don't have to come back to do it again. But like, I'm using 1 cup ball. I'm just trying to see if 1 cup ball will be the amount. That way, maybe I won't have to wait it again. But because I'm in experimentation stage, I'm waiting them so that I can compare the seed that I planted to the harvest. So we have those rows, and we can just plant in them. Oh, and by the way, when you are doing those things, it's good to have gloves if you can. And I think I'm wearing some goggles there. We are in a chemistry lab here, so using some tools, and I think I cut some trees on the properties that day or so. So I just find that it's just better to protect your eyes when you are doing those things so that you don't have things flying in your face and have some dirt in your eyes. And for microgreen, we are just like planting them thickly. they are not going to grow to full maturity. So therefore, we plant them pretty much thick in each row so that we can harvest a good amount. And I found planting in rows works for me. Last year, I tried to plant it in the ground and planted a section, a square section, and some area got moldy. But again, that area was a little bit on the west side too. So I don't know if it was just too wet. But I found planting in rows like that makes it easy for me to cover a little because the mounts between the rows will be used to cover. And yeah, and they can have airflow between them as well. And I'm trying to learn now to plant it too thickly either and let it grow a little bit taller too. Not just harvesting at the first two cotyledon, but let the true leaves grow a little bit taller. So we got it planted. We have 3 rows there, and we can now cover. Sometimes I tend to water the pea how they are now, and then I'll cover it, but you can cover it as well and water. And some might soak the pea overnight, but I just, try not to do that. But that's just what I do. So it's not that one way is better than the other or my way is the best. No, it's what works for me. And I would just wear that area heavily so that it can stay moist enough for the pea to germinate. And having the bottom of the container open, if I water it too much, the water will flow out. When that box is, the cardboard box is routed, the water will go in the ground. That makes sense. So I won't worry about over watering because, excuse me, I'm not very good at watering things. That's why I don't like to plant things indoor. And I don't know how much is too much water. So if I'm planting in a container, I like to have space for the water to seep out if it's too much in it. And those containers nearby the sandbox, I fill the bottom with 3 branches that I have on my property. I cut some trees, I leave it right on the property. I pretty much get some that are thick, spongy looking, can soak water. I put them at the bottom of those containers and fill it with the same dirt that I'm using here. Fill the top with it and plant some herbs there. So now I like to use that that wire 9 inches gauge wire, seal wire, and yeah, we have it for years. I don't know what year I purchased it, but the same year I purchased the wire for the fence, I guess. But I didn't really find a use for it, what I will use it for. I'm not entirely sure what I purchased it for originally, but it was just thick that I didn't find a use for it. So, and I left it in the garage for years. And as I watch videos on gardening and people have hoop or have covers on their bed on the ground, I found that maybe this might come handy for me to cover the bed this year against those things that can chew on it, just in case they find what I'm growing interesting to chew on. It does not stay in the ground long enough to pick their attention like groundhog, deer, and bunny, but I prefer to cover so that they don't just chew on the whole plant and I had to start over as soon as they start germinating. So I'm using that carrot that I used to cut some wire that I used to tie the fence against the post. I was thinking it's going to cut it, but no, it's not working. So yeah, that is my the what I'm thinking about covering it, just to be preventive here. And get some tools out. And I think that big one, you can use it to open cast iron pipe. But I thought, well, if it can work on cast iron, it can work on this, surely. So, but I think it's supposed to open cast iron pipe. I don't think it's supposed to cut it. I think. I'm not sure. But trying to make it small enough to grab the wire. Do you even know, is it supposed to open the pipe or supposed to cut the pipe? Because clearly it's not carrying that wire. Do you cut cast iron pipe with it or you open cast iron? You unscrew cast iron pipe with it. So I have that one, and clearly we never used it before, and I'm trying to figure out how to open it. Is there even something to turn? I was turning things around it, but I'm not sure if anything needs to turn really. So there's something there that I twisted. I don't know if that was the key to open it, but well, my youngest one helped me out to do that. Thank you, Jaren. So I was able to work with it, but I think this wire is a little bit tall though. And the wire is easy to push in the ground. And because we are going to grow microgreens, they are going to be small, you don't really need a tall cover above the container. So I think that one is quite high. And I found working outside, if you wear a sweater, it can protect your arm. Sometimes I wear jackets. One, it keeps those bugs off of you if you have bugs outside. But by the time bugs are out, it can be hot outside too. But it keeps those things from scratching your skin. So I found covering my body from neck to toes can be helpful sometimes to keep bugs away and to keep those things I'm using from scratching me. And it's good to use gloves as well so that you don't dry out your hand. So we are going to try that size, and about, let's say about a foot or so, or 6 inches is going in the ground on each side. So then you can just measure how tall you want it. And now that that one is okay, we can just use it to measure the rest. So we got few more and we can put them. As for space between it, I use it for some bed around, and I did 2 feet between the wire, and in some areas it was kind of too wide. So you can do about a foot space, but for the bed, I think I just eyeball it. Or maybe I'm using my foot because I have my feet there, so it could be about, you know, a little bit less than 12 inches space between the wire. Yeah. And it gives you space to walk. I would think it's going to give me space to harvest as well. But time will tell. I will harvest them today, and I'll see if I can harvest without having to take those wires out of my way. That would be good. And it's good to have one at the beginning, at the end of whatever area you're trying to cover, so that the fabric you are going to put on top of it um, is well above your growing area, so that it does not lean rest on your plants when they are growing. But depending on how light the fabric is, shouldn't be a problem. But and the tulle that I will use, yeah, is light enough. But I found the tulle to be tearing. I don't know if that's bird, if that's, oh, there is a cat, a neighbor cat that is coming in the yard and tend to climb things. But I don't know if the cat is the one poking the hole, or if my son playing with ball that is falling on it that is poking a hole. But the tulle is working, but I have holes in it. But for the peas it should be fine because I'm not protecting it against insects or anything, but for more bigger animals, and they won't go in it just because there is a hole in it. And right now I'm using one that I used last year to cover a bed. I'm using it instead of using, a brand new one. So I purchased, I don't know if it was what, a year, I don't know, or maybe more than that, I don't know, but it's from that bag that I just showed earlier that I used this one from last year. So it was a lot of yard. Purchased it from Walmart, and yeah, seems to be, excuse me, working just fine. But again, is it can tear easily, or even that one that I'm using has some tear in it. Okay, so maybe if it was my son's ball helping, then the tear was there and it was just making it bigger when the ball fall on top of it. And we just planted a bed of peas there microgreen bed there in a container, a sandbox container. I'm not very as artistic type person, very analytical, so I don't like creative. I'm not very creative type person. So some people can be very good at repurposing things, create something new out of things. I'm not very good at it. I just like to recycle, if that makes sense. Have a different use of it. That's how I'm using this symbols. Last year I let rain fall in it and I used the water to water. But then I decided, no, what can I really use it for? So, and decided that, yeah, this will be a good way to use it. Otherwise, I wanted to harvest water in it, but I found that the container that I thought that I used for water and I left it outside froze. But this container would have worked well to gather water without breaking. The thought broke, but this will have worked, I think, just fine without problem. But yeah, I found that maybe it's wide enough I can grow microgreen in it, and that is how I'm using it. So how will you repurpose your kid's sandbox? Do you grow microgreen, or do you grow a garden? What? I know that many of you will be very creative type person. What are the ways you can repurpose a sandbox? Because I searched my brain, and it has been there for years without being really used by them, until I decided that at least they said I can mix it with my um, dirt and grow carrots there. But right now I'm growing microgreen there. I create a bed with the sand that was in the sandbox, and now 2 years later or a year later, I'm using the sandbox to grow microgreen in it. So it is done. I still have a lot to put away, but we got that done. And we can check where the dirt came from pretty much around my comfrey. So comfrey are those growing there. I'm planting them around fruit trees. So fruit trees are nearby, and I have rhubarb right there as well, the north side of the screen. And yeah, the dirt came from there. So this is a bed I started on grass last year. Work a lot on it by digging the grass and turning it upside down. This bed here, I planted potato there, dug in the grass, dug a hole, put the potato in it, and cover it with a lot of wood chips. So that bed was easy to start. The other one was not easy, but both are there, started on grass, and the space between it, that's where the sandbox is, because our gas line passed by that area. I can now really garden there. So it's good when you are gardening to call the gas line, the gas company, for them to put their mark on the floor for you, so that you know where your gas lines are, so that you stay away from that area. So yeah, and I just thought maybe having a raised bed around that area is not quite, the gas line is away from that area where the sandbox is. So this is, I'm going to harvest that day that we planted the peas. So is, yeah, a mustard microgreen, a type of mustard microgreen that we are going to harvest. There is another one growing nearby it, both planted different times. Well, yeah, and that is patchoy microgreen. So we are going to do the second harvest that day. We harvest a portion where the small greens are. We harvest that part out, and then the 17th of April, and we planted those small ones. So April 26th, where we planted the peas. When we planted the peas, we are going to harvest the remaining of that pak choy microgreens for salad. And we will plant something else there as well. And that is how I harvest my microgreens. I like to pull it out, and the roots portion will go and mold something else. So the peas we planted March 26, 7 ounces. They germinated May 3, 2026. Did you see where we harvest those microgreen? We planted a curl moisture microgreen there, and as of May 14, they're about 2 inches tall, and they are growing there. So we will check on our peas shortly as well. So this was planted after we harvest those, so you can see them growing there. And we have something else growing where the baby greens are as well. So now we are going to go to our peas. So peas germinated May 5. Is it May 5? No, it will be May 3. Oh wait. But and this is May 15, 2026. The piece that we planted together is that tall, and I'll be able to harvest it at the time of this voice recording, May 17, 2026. I'm planning on harvesting it today for salad, and I plan on having a video on that as well, from planting to harvesting to serving as well. But yeah, we water, and now we are having rains, but we water regularly. We fertilize it as well, at least once or not, because it's peas. I was not sure if I should fertilize it or not, since they are nitrogen fixer. But I will fertilize the bed next time I plant something there. And I'm thinking about planting peas again, since I have mustard and cabbage family growing in the other bed. I don't know, I'll think about what I will put here next when I harvest it. But we are about 7 inches, 6 inches, 7 inches tall on this piece, when the other one that we just measured was about 2 inches, both planted the same day. So that is the difference between those two greens. Again, that mustard seed is small, pea seed is big. So let's see if I can find that mustard. Yeah, so they tend to create shorter plant when pea seed is growing taller plant. So those are things we have to consider as well. So that is how I created a container bed for microgreen. Do you grow microgreens, and do you grow them in container? How do you set your container bed for your microgreens? Thank you so much for watching our videos. We thank you very much for your time. Thank you for all your comments. We thank you very much for subscribing to our channel. I'm Afiabi Liberman, Course of Liberman Consulting L.L.C YouTube channel, and ninasoup.com, our blog. On our channel and on our blog, we share different ways to save money and different ways to make money to reach your financial independence. And growing your own food could be one way to save money. At least that is our goal while we are working toward our financial independence. And I like to share what is working for us what is not working, what we are learning with you, for you to pick few tips that you find useful and improve on to use in your own journey. So thank you so much for your time. As a disclaimer, I'm not a nutritionist, so use our information and I'm not a professional gardener, so use our information at your own discretion. So thank you so much for your time. And this video is brought to you by our online store, Liberman.com. We sew towels to sell. So if you are looking for towels and napkin and dish towels, please check our online store, Liberman.com. Thank you so much for your time. Happy gardening.